favor? Okay, and yourself?
Oh, I'm just listening.
Okay, you in favor?
I'm
Or?
in la land. No, I was just sitting here thinking if we can make a comment there.
Sure.
I don't have an issue with trying to clean up at all. I'm just sitting here thinking if we're setting a precedence. I knew about the place, and I knew that the young lady recently acquired ownership of it, and she was wanting to dispose of it. But I'm just sitting here thinking, are we setting a precedence by doing it, and there's others going to come into play? So anyway, I really do have mixed emotions. I don't have a problem with cleaning it up. That's not the issue.
I will say, I had already called for I wanted to hear what you had to say. I had already called for discussion, and we had called for a vote, and I think I heard 3 votes. I hadn't voted yet, and so I was, just curious. I will say I'm in the same position you're in. Don't know what to say about it, but we've got 3 in favor.
And that's fine, and Mayor,
we have done
you
it in
did
the
offer
past.
this.
We have done it in the past. That was
At request of the owner.
owners. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have the owner has no skin in the game. The city's gonna have, the CRA is gonna have the expense of it. The owner's not gonna have any
Right.
skin in it.
Will we put a lien on the property? Because
No.
many times when,
That's no-
we do put, the city does put a lien
We
on
do the
property.
lien if it's involuntary. Like the last one we did on Southeast Avenue E.
Yeah.
That one, they signed a waiver releasing us from any liability from taking it down because it's removing blight, which is the purpose of the CRA.
Uh-huh.
I'm all for saving old buildings, obviously, but
And
if
I
the
tried
roof
to
is
get her
caving
to,
in,
yeah, I
and if
tried to
it's-
get her to get it moved or, and she said it's just
It will
unsafe.
cost a fortune. to
There's
do that.
there's some, apparently some drug activity,
Yeah.
people living and squatting in, so.
All right.
If
Well-
it was salvageable, I would have not been for.
All right, but we're really not supposed to be in discussion, but we are.
Okay.
But we don't go formally, officially by Robert's rules. And we've got 3 in favor, and
I'm gonna have to say nay,
I will too, but the motion does carry.
and that's fine.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Mhm. So we have 2 that oppose and 3 that are in favor, and that motion carries. And it's all good, so.
Yeah, and again, I'm not against cleaning something up, and I'll reiterate what Commissioner Brown said. I know the old house. I grew up here and knew the family that lived in it all those years. But, and if it was restorable, it would be a nice old house to restore, like we've seen in many other towns that turn into really nice places. There's one just up the road from it. But anyway, got mixed emotions, and that's just my vote, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right then. And Mr. Hartman, maybe we could look forward or, have some discussion in the future about whether or not, the city's gonna, or the CRA would put a lien on a property if it's, being demoed, if money's being invested like that.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
as far as a question.
We can think about it.
I mean, what Keisha had mentioned is the purpose of the CRA is to do exactly this, right? To fix blight situations. But I also totally understand where you're coming from to say, well, wait a minute, what if it's I'm gonna call it, not this situation, but hypothetical wealthy property owner that just lets his property go downhill, expecting the public to pick up the tab. But that would be, normally, there's objective criteria for stuff like this, but where it comes to the CRA would actually make that decision. You actually, one of the few situations where you would say, you know what, the city can do code enforcement on that person and force a cleanup. The city would pay for it, we'd lien the property and all that, or does it qualify for the CRA picking up the tab because it's slumming blight that makes sense for the CRA to discuss and figure out, and if the the CRA wants to pay for it, we have money for that, like already set aside, budgeted, so that's.
Well, Mayor, and I hope I voiced my concern the same way in a couple different areas, and I'd like to reiterate what the attorney touched on there. My feeling is, how do we condemn a place and we go in and clean it up and put a lien on that person's property, and then we clean up the one over there on that block and there's no charge?
And,
How do we do that? How do we justify that?
Ms. Keisha just said if they request it, then a lien is not put on it. That's the practice that has been used.
I understand, and I understand what she's saying,
Yes.
but to me, that's opening a big door.
It is, I mean, this is what
Yeah.
sort of hurts my head as a lawyer, is you always want consistency
Right.
and everything else, right, and precedent, but
Well, I'm
we
also
are,
talking about code enforcement
Exactly.
versus CRA.
it is apples and
Yeah.
oranges. CRA fixing, that money coming into CRA from property owners within the district to cure slum and blight within the district, that's kind of one path, and then the other path is code enforcement, and pushing ahead, which we have done with code enforcement, where we have condemned and demoed a piece of property. But they are two different mechanisms, two different funding sources, that sort of thing. They look a lot alike, they can be sort of, accomplish the same purpose, but two different paths to get there.
And in my subjective opinion, this is subjective, I feel like there's other properties in the CRA district that justify demolition more than this piece of property. Just from the standing outside on the street, driving by, looking at it.
Yeah, and I guess
haven't been inside the
Keisha's comment, I mean, as to code enforcement, when we have demoed property, sometimes it's because it's condemned, because it's a public nuisance hazard, rats, vermin, that sort of thing. It is not, I can't think of one where they've asked for it. I mean, they say, hey, don't have the money to do it, we understand it's a problem, the city could help us, or the CRA could help us. I mean, that's what the CRA is there for, and sort of what the city's there for too, if it's voluntary.
Okay, but my question in my mind is, why don't we go through our standard process of code enforcement and handle it in that form, like we do routinely?
Well, we could have, we just figured the CRA had more money than the general fund.
I understand you ladies saying that, I do, from your positions in your profession, I do understand that. But I'm still concerned about the precedents we setting in the way we're handling those issues.
And I would think that code enforcement can be managed throughout the city, whether it's in a district or wherever it is, it can be managed throughout the city.
It's still the city.
And then if it's deemed, to be condemned or demoed, if it's in the CRA district, then the CRA district could fund it. That's
But then
the
we
way
may
I
need
see
it.
it.
I mean, and the thing is, I guess what I'm not sure we've had this exact situation, but we're doing code enforcement because we're not getting compliance. In this situation, we have someone who says, hey, I'll bring it into compliance, I just don't have the money, right? And you say, well, it's your lucky day, you're in the CRA district, we have money set aside to fix slum and blight conditions such as found on your property. You indemnify us, hold us harmless.
And it's something that can be done within a month's time rather than a year's time.
Yeah, spend money, go to
Because they
court,
agree to it.
Right.
do the code enforcement whole process.
And I do understand that, but still, we are doing it in this direction, and the taxpayers' dollars are paying for it, and there's no lien put on the property, like we would do on a standard code enforcement issue.
But the idea is, right, in the CRA, because I know everybody's wearing, switching hats, right? In the CRA, it's the homeowners within that, taxpaying property owners within that district have, I wouldn't say agree, but they understand that a portion of their tax dollars that would, portion from the city, portion from the county, for all the reasons, right? Economically enhance the value of their property. I mean, it helps everybody within the district to clean up those things. As opposed to sometimes code enforcement, obviously, it doesn't help someone all the way on the other side of the city necessarily to spend money on 12th Street for somebody out at Jordan Bayou. But
It would be hard for me to explain to a taxpayer outside of the CRA district why we couldn't do theirs the same way.
because they're outside the CRA district.
Well, we got a general fund. It's still taxpayers' dollars.
It is, but the general fund isn't necessarily set aside for that purpose. CRA is, portion of it, right? I mean, I'm arguing with you. I hear what you're saying.
It's a long debate,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
and I'm not, and truly, I'm not picking on this piece of property. I'm just, in general, talking about uniformity and spending the taxpayers' dollars and doing something uniformly.
I agree.
And setting the
Uniformly, I preach that a lot.
I am not
so.
picking on one
Yeah.
individual piece of property at all, so.
Yep. Like, moving forward, again, we would want to treat all similarly situated people in the CRA who came to us and said, hey, I need help with some demo on my property, the same way. And I know I'm splitting hairs, but if that property owner was very wealthy, I don't think they are similarly situated. I think you could say to them, hey, the slum blight money that we have is limited, and it's there for situations that the property owner can't fix themselves with funds.
I have a question that may help you be more comfortable with this. With situations where a lot of people are coming to Carrabelle, buying up properties, turning them into vacation rental homes, but we're trying to, sustain our living here. If we put a lien on all the properties that we clean up, say for 2 years or 5 years, I don't know if lien is the right word, but just saying, if you sell the property within this time, you have to pay us back this money. Is that an option?
I think it is. I think if the CRA is doing that, we should put it in our plan,
Okay.
right? We should actually have a program for that. Just like the grant, and we talk about the facade grants, doesn't matter whether you have the money, anybody's eligible for that, right? So it's uniform. So anybody, whether they're a wealthy property owner or
Yep.
don't have the money, if they can participate in that program, and we don't look behind it and say, oh, why are we giving you money when you have plenty of it? We don't look at that. But your idea is a good one. I'm thinking of, I know they do it with, air conditioning, insulation. They do it in the city of Tallahassee, has programs like that become a lien that we can put, like you say, a time limit on it where it would drop off, but it's there if they go to sell it.
Because if they're just trying to clean up a piece of property and then flip it, I mean, it cleans up the property regardless, but, I think, I don't know, would that help with what you're asking at all? It would still be a lien on all properties, but only if they sell it within a certain time frame.
That, to me, that would be a step in the right direction. Again, I see it as opening up a can of worms to where that could happen, that in the CRA district or anywhere within the city, but particularly in the CRA district, as the attorney's talking about it, that you have permission to clean my property up, and you clean my property up, and then I sell it and make a nice little chunk of change on it, and I don't have any skin in the game
Right.
with cleaning up my property before I sold it, which increased my value.
And actually,
So that definitely could be a step in the right direction. We could talk about this probably for a long time, but that would be a step in the right direction. But as the attorney said, we'd need to put that in the plan.
Initially, when we set up the facade grant plan in the very beginning, we had a long discussion about we would put a lien on the property, or part of the agreement, facade grant agreement, would be that if the property sold within 5 years or 3 years, I can't remember, I think it was 5 years, that they had to pay a prorated amount back to the CRA because it was improving. And we have had that happen 2 or 3 times. Someone has gotten their grant, their CRA, improved it and put it right on the market. They do have a little bit of skin in the game with the 20%. because it's 80/20, funded 80%, a little bit of skin. So, we have, kind of touched on that in a way, but in a different way. But if we can have this on a discussion or at a workshop sometime, it's something to consider.
Just the way I see it, I think it should be.
Especially with the district being
I wish more
expanded.
people would
Right.
want us to, like you said, some of the worst ones,
Yeah, there
Sure.
are
I
some
want to
words.
keep as many as possible, but this could be a way that would be mutually beneficial if we had that in the plan.
All right, well, if we think we want to have a little workshop on it, we can, but we need to move forward now with our meeting. And we got a couple of presenters here today as well. And so we'll listen to the city attorney's report this time.
Did you already get done listening?
I didn't say you could talk.
I'll make this quick, we've discussed the mechanism and ability to be able to spend CRA money improving the old water plant. And my understanding is we have two paths to do that. One is, there's one that's, say, mostly clear, and then there's one very clear. And the two paths are, as long as any improvements to the water plant are not included on the current capital improvement plan for the city or included in the city budget, then the CRA can, with an amendment to the plan, the CRA plan, which provides for the improvements that we intend to make to the water plant and the concurrent benefits of that, we can leave it titled as is and spend city funds on it. My understanding is that it is not in the capital improvement plan and it's not in the budget to make these improvements in the city capital improvement plan or budget. The other path is for the city to deed the property to the CRA and then again amend the plan to include making it a priority or a goal in the plan to improve the water plant. Almost the same amendment, just a little bit different to the plan, the CRA plan, and then we can spend money on it. So the trick would be, really, this is probably a city question, city commission question, right? Does the city commission want to deed that property to the CRA, or does the city commission want to retain the property? And for the CRA, sort of decision for y'all to make as CRA board would be, what does the amendment to the plan look like? Meaning specifically what improvements would you want to make to the water plant so that you can, we can write those up and as an amendment to the plan, which we'd have to do under either scenario, and then budget for it.
And I would recommend that we need to decide, if we're going to transfer the deed, that has to be done on the commission side. Transfer the deed to the property. If we amend the plan, it's got to be done either way, whether we transfer or just include it in the plan. And if you don't transfer the property in the plan, then you need to put some bullet items on all of the items that you plan on doing to the property. Say you want to, certainly we talked about the roof, maybe we want to put new windows and doors, repair the interior, landscape, whatever. All that needs to be in the plan. Plan has to be amended and done like an ordinance in a way, 2 public hearings. So it's not going to happen overnight. I would recommend that we need to figure out what we want to do and get it in process, so get it going so that we can put it on next year's budget, the next fiscal year. And really do something to that property, one way or the other.
Yeah, I agree. But just for clarification for myself and others, when you say put it in the budget, now are you talking out in general CRA budget, right, not general fund
Yeah.
budget? Okay.
So we need to figure out how we can legally fund it, and we know the 2 ways we can, the 2 avenues. And so now what we need to do is decide which avenue we want to take and get that done so that we can legally put it in the CRA budget for the next fiscal year, and be thinking about what you want to do to it. And we'll see shortly how much money we have. Maybe we can do a 3-year commitment to it or something like that as well. So
Sounds good.
You know, we can, I'm not recommending to put this on the May commission agenda at this time, but certainly on the June commission agenda. We want to discuss it further on the commission side, how we want to manage it.
I would like to see us do it as soon as possible from the commission side
Could we do a
and
special
move forward.
meeting
So, yeah.
so that it's not at the main meeting?
Well, we
but-
would have to discuss that at the commission meeting on that,
Oh,
if we want to have a special commission meeting.
yeah, okay.
Whichever.
Okay, all right. But be thinking about what you'd like to do to that property. All right, and any other questions from Mr. Hartman? Okay, then we have Mr. Ray Messer with us today. How are you doing, sir?
All right, and yourself?
I'm doing good.
Well, got all the mulch done.
I see it.
Looks good too.
Could you just go over and take care of that house?
You got the fire department?
Yeah.
That'd be a practice. But, got all the mulch done, and, the spraying's gonna be, it's been a month ago, I sprayed everything. Every bed in the CRA, and they're coming back and I'm using the best I can buy. And I just don't know, I mean, I bought mulch this year that's had, when you dump it, it's got stuff in it like plants.
Oh, it has seeds in it?
It's like weeds in it.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's something we need to look at, I don't know, I mean, because that mulch is wet. I mean, I don't know why it's being so wet, unless you can't get as much out of it or whatever, I don't know.
Are you getting it from Ace?
Yes, ma'am, but I bought some from Tallahassee on another job, and it's the same way. There's no difference. But I got that done, working on the flower beds, and just wondering when they're gonna close Marine Street, because I wanna blow it, but I don't wanna do it, you know.
It'll be Saturday morning,
I say, it ain't gonna be closed at all till Saturday morning.
Saturday morning.
And let's see, it's Marine Street and B and C, right?
Right.
But aren't we closing B at
B
noon
and
on
C.
Friday?
I don't know, Marine Street's gonna be Saturday, I don't know, I guess.
Because last year we got a chance to blow it all off before, and
And so, Miss Tamara, when is B closing?
My understanding is we got permission to close at noon on Friday because we have to assemble that big tent thing.
And do you know about C? When is C closing?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I would say
I'll just go ahead and blow it anyway,
Yeah,
and just,
blow it on Thursday, you know,
and just
I
hope
think it'd
nobody.
be, I think it'd be fine. I mean, if there's a little bit of garbage around.
Right, we'll pick it up, but we're gonna mow today, we'll go ahead and mow everything today, and get everything mowed, you know, in the CRA. Try to have it looking good.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Anything, anybody?
No, I don't think so.
I do have one
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
I hope I'm not out of place.
Uh-uh.
You had mentioned to me about a different type of material.
Mm-hmm, yes, and I hadn't got with the guy, that's the reason I didn't bring it up,
Okay,
but there was
that's good.
okay, but I was gonna I'm gonna get some info on it, and then I'll bring it up.
Good.
For mulch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Okay.
rubberized,
Yeah.
that's 10-year warranty.
Thank you, I didn't want
Yeah, that's good,
All right, I've seen rubber pine straw even, fake pine straw.
Well, fine, so.
and I don't know, pine straw just don't have,
Don't tell the truth.
I'll do it on, you know,
Yeah, that's what I was
other
thinking,
jobs.
it gets washed in the road
Yeah.
and down in the gutters and, it's
Okay,
not very.
all right, well, we thank you.
Thank
you for
y'all.
coming in.
All
Have a
right.
good day.
All right.
All right, so we have, under new business, we have item 1, a presentation by Chester Reese on the propeller removed from the Carrabelle River.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chester.
I've got a handout for everyone, almost everyone. You guys have to share it.
Thank you, sir.
to. Thank you, sir.
a brief history on how this all kind of started. When I was on the TDC representing the Chamber of Commerce, a lady had come and approached the CDC and said, you know, wouldn't it be lovely if we had a Mariners Memorial? And we all thought it was a great idea, but there were so many voices in it, and there was so much discussion that basically it drowned. So my daughter and I have been talking here in the last year or so, and my business, Natural World Charters, was going to propose buying a plaque and doing a small presentation, just like Ms. Bragdon's out here in front. Something real small, seeing if the city would go along with it, we'd pay for it. That way we'd get it going and done, because we thought, you know, this is a community of mariners, basically. And a lot of people have not come back from out there. And this would be a good community to represent those folks. So when I was coming up with the design, I came up with some verbiage. This Mariners Memorial is dedicated to all of those who lost their lives in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, from the earliest inhabitants through the present-day mariners that ply these waters. Sort of fit everything because it encompasses all. Well then, the mayor says, hey, they dredged up a propeller. You know, isn't that cool? And so I went, well, you know, yeah, you know, I know a little bit about propellers and cleaning them. Yeah, let me take a look at it. So we looked at it, ended up taking possession of it, drew up a little plan on what I was going to do with it, and presented to the city for whatever the city wanted to do. So that's now kind of grown up. Courtney and the mayor and I sat together and said, well, wouldn't it be interesting if we could incorporate both of those ideas? So kind of came up with a really basic design. And this is, in Apalachicola, there's a monument to a World War I Franklin County hero, Lieutenant Marks. Nobody knows where it is. I mean, everybody drives by. When I say, oh, have you seen the memorial? They go, where? I don't know. It's right, it's kind of right in front of where the Gibson is, right when the bridge comes down. But its design would kind of, it's just kind of what I took from. That it's more of a monolith with verbiage on it. So here we have this propeller, which is cleaning up pretty well. And we've had a discussion on, well, should we make it look like a propeller again, or should we let it have its own vision of who it was and what it was? And so I came up with that design that you'll see, which is basically a concrete structure with some decorative impressions on it. You can do that with forms, and it can be elaborate or not elaborate. And then having the prop above, and then we were talking, Commissioner Millender and I were talking about a history of the boat and that charter fleet, basically. I mean, there were 4 or 5 boats at one time, not all as big as this one. So having that, and then having another plaque that would represent the Mariners Memorial. There's also in there, there's a photo of the Queen of Queens, which Commissioner Tony here has great knowledge of, and the Carrabelle lady. So I think we have got a lot of historical understanding of what we had down there on Marine Street, and if you guys think it's a good idea, we can move forward on it. The prop's sitting out front right now. If you want to take a look at it, I'll drop it and pick it up in an hour or so. But it could be quite an interesting memorial.
Mr. Chester, do you have an idea for a location or a suggestion, or have you?
We've had some discussion on that.
Okay.
Whether it be the triangle, possibly Marine Street. I know there's going to be some changes to Marine Street, so it might be a good area there. Certainly Marine Street, having worked on CRA projects down on Marine Street, gosh, there's a whole lot of foot traffic anymore. It's really, it's come right around. It's a place where people like to walk and like to look out over the river. That could be expanded over time.
And does this board have any ideas for a spot for something like
You
this?
know, we were talking about taking out the dolphins because they keep getting broken. I think down there would be great because it's right by the boat ramp.
Yeah.
There's seating around that area.
And we did talk about that, and we have talked about the welcome park as well, because we're not going to be getting the Big Bend Scenic Byway
Correct.
kiosk that was promised or the city paid for 2 decades ago. But this, then this side here, what do you expect to have on this, where you've got your?
That's the side view.
Oh,
and
the
then
side
front
view, okay, I see. Well,
This is
then that
something, yeah, and that could be, I'm calling it decorative impression, which could be just basically a concrete depression in it with an angle. It's as simple as that to something that actually had like an anchor or a steering wheel of some kind.
So turn it this way and.
Yeah, it's a little bit that way.
I have a question.
Yes.
Didn't you do the displays of the fish?
That, I championed that project, yes. That was both a city and a TDC project. But yeah, I knew the guys that made the fish.
So I would say that's a good qualification for doing this.
So, I mean.
I got some priors anyway.
Yeah, it'd be the-
This would fit in that spot where the dolphins are. This would fit in that location.
That's what I was thinking, you know, the rough dimensions, 8 feet high, 5 feet wide. It's a 48-inch diameter, diameter prop. So it's a pretty big prop. And, but you don't want it, you don't want it too gaudy, and that, there's kind of a fine line between something that looks great and something that looks like, geez, what's that?
Do you, do you have a completion date for the propeller repairs, or, kind of a guesstimate?
I could probably have it done in a couple of weeks as far as, we talked about how far do we want to go with it. Do we want to make it look like a finished propeller that's ready to spin on a boat, or do we want it to be the kind of characterization that it has? On the photo in the back of there, that's the shaft log. When they dug that up, that's the shaft log, and that's what she looked like when she went down. And the part of the propeller that's turned into itself is where it actually hit the bottom when the boat sunk. There's some other bends and dings and nicks that no one really knows what happened, but it certainly has a lot of history. It hit something when it was rolling at one time because it's got dink, dink, dinks on each one of the fins coming around. So.
Well, I like it as is because it promotes discussion. What happened?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
makes your mind
and it fits with people that have had problems at sea. My idea was, I'm a boat captain, so I can't see a fouled prop. I got to clean it. And so we took all the big shell off it. There's still another acid washing and a kind of a light sanding that could happen to take most of that stuff off. It will patina, even though we can get it to where it's going to be pretty shiny. Over time, it'll patina out to be a really nice, rich color, sort of something like this.
And I'll just ask you one at a time, Commissioner Millender, how do you like the propeller? Do you like it as is with all of its nicks and dings in it, or would you want to see it straightened out to look like a brand new propeller?
Two trains of thought, in my opinion. First of all, it has character, just the way it is. And I wouldn't be interested in bringing it back to a spit and polished look. That's not the way it was on the boat. It just kind of came out that way brand new when it was built, just because that's the way it is. When it was on the boat in use, it didn't look that way. And then there's a maintenance issue. And just as Russell described, I feel like that finish up a little bit of cleaning and dressing up and then weather a little bit, and to me, that would be normal.
Leave the bends in it. They're a history to this.
Yeah.
The oyster shells, we got plenty of those. We could probably take some of those.
And Mr. Commissioner Allen, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's great. There's just not many propellers sitting around in town, really get some attention.
Yeah.
And it would be a great chance to tell the story.
Okay, Commissioner Brown, do you like it
I
Of
like
course,
it
he
with
still
the-
has
I
some
take it
more
as is.
polishing to do.
Right, I know
Uh-huh.
he said he had a little bit more to do, and I think that's.
And leave the
Leave it
little
bent
bends
up
in it and the
and
nicks and
banged up.
dings.
Mhm.
And Ms. Chisholm, have you seen it yet?
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
It's sitting out in the parking lot. I'm gonna undo it from the truck,
We'll have to go
and
see
then I
it.
can come back and pick her up.
Which I already know that I think it would be better to have it the way it is, just clean it up a little bit and let it go, because that's the history of it.
Uh-huh.
So those dings and dangs, it's gonna tell the story, it's gonna
That's
capture the
right.
interest in the people when they see it, we're seeing the new ones, and oh, it's just front loader. You know, they just go on. So that's gonna draw them to
Wonder
see,
what happened to
see what
that.
it is.
Right.
Exactly,
So,
so.
Mr. Chester, are you, yes, Ms. Tamara?
I just was wondering, which way does it, which way does that monument face? Does it face the sidewalk or the?
It could go a variety of ways. If it faced Marine Street perhaps, that would be a good position for it, but this is, I think, if we decide on what we want to do as far as the image of the prop, the next thing is to think about its location, of course.
Right, we're still in the preliminary stages, Ms. Tamara.
Right.
So, Mr. Chester, are you proposing to build this the structure then?
You know, I was gonna build a little one. That's a much bigger project,
Okay.
but, you know, we can come to grips with that. That's what we do. We're formed carpenters.
Are you proposing, do you want to present an invoice? Do you, of course, you know, we would certainly be funding the materials for sure, but, you know, if you want to present an invoice, I think that can happen as well.
And that sounds fine. I'd be honored to do that. I think there's a step maybe before that in that, what do we want to see for the amount of verbiage on the plaques? Because those plaques, in my mind, are going to be manufactured by a sign company or somebody, you know, that's a plaque maker. And just like the bronze plaques that are out here with Ms. Bragdon. That same kind of thing, and then set in whatever style, a monolith we want to have. I looked at it, this was a pretty quick drawing, but it was like a section here to read, and then a section here to read, and then the prop over the top of it. And then we can get together and decide what we want to talk about the history of charter fishing or the history of that particular vessel. There's still a lot of that work to do, but I think that it's got a shaft on it that's 6 inches. I mean, it can support that wheel. And we could make a form where that would stick in and we pour around it, and so it would be there. But, you know, I think there's still some design issues that, you know, we can probably hammer out.
Okay, now I'm just gonna ask the commission, of the board members now. Are you all interested in this project? Do you want to move forward with it? And then I'll ask Chester some more questions. I won't prolong it if we're not interested.
I'm interested.
I'm interested.
interested.
Okay. Now, and I'll hear from the board again. Would you like to make a more detailed presentation and bring that back with your suggestions? I mean, you're certainly welcome to talk to any board members and get their input on it, and bring back a more detailed with possibly like Mr. Russell does, a scope of work and with an estimated cost.
Sure.
Because what I would recommend is that this would be, if the board likes it at that point, a project for the next fiscal year. You know, we've got how many months left? 5, 6 months? I mean, by the time we get this worked out and design worked out and something that we all like, it's gonna be a couple of 3 more months, and we can put that in a, you know, plan for that next year if the board so wants to do.
That's a good timeline for me.
I feel like we'll definitely be over into the next fiscal year because of what you just described, plus Russell's gonna talk to us a little bit about the rehabilitation of Marine Street. And again, my thoughts are is we don't want to go ahead and build a new structure down there that's gonna be interfered with during the
Yeah, or in the
process.
way, in the
Exactly.
way.
So, anyway, we have time, let's move forward, but we
All
have
right,
time.
okay.
I think we're on a good path on this. It's gonna take all of us together to make this something for the city that works out. Mr. Large, I'd like to talk with you about it, And Tony, we can talk about what,
Sure,
you know,
anytime.
history of the boats, and we'll all look at it again and see if we can't do something pretty cool with this.
All right, well, that's wonderful. Then I don't think we need a motion now, but we're all agreeing in principle to move forward and let Mr. Chester bring us the scope
Great.
of work when he has time to do it, and put that together, and we'll plan for it next.
I'll do a more detailed drawing. This
next
is
year.
basically a thumbnail, just to give an idea of what could be, but we'll talk about the engineering aspects of it and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so, and then the next year, and plan that, schedule that around the construction work that's gonna go on Marie Street. They're gonna be
Great.
redoing the sidewalk in that area.
It's an exciting project.
Okay, I like it. I'm real tickled about the propeller. And then I have one question for you
Yes.
that is a maintenance style question on, since you're here, on the fishing display there at the boat ramp.
The fish display.
Yes, thank you. The plexiglass is kind of.
Yeah.
So is there something, can that be taken out and replaced? Or
Well,
what can
you know,
we do?
it's funny about that thing. There were a lot of questions on what it was going to be, and we had been involved with Visit Florida. Traditionally, in all of the old-time charter docks, there was a taxidermist, whether it be Pfluger or Reese, not a relation, unfortunately. But those were always pretty much the same. They were white, they had a little extension over them, and they had glass in them that always tainted, and part of it was that we were building a historical item that, unbeknownst to everybody, aged just like all the other ones around the state have aged. So yeah, as long as I'm still kicking, I'll be taking care of it by doing fiberglass work on it. I put a new roof on it and kind of keep it so it's not just falling down. I'm surprised somebody didn't take a chainsaw to it and wrap around a pickup truck and haul it down the street.
Now, is there, but the plexiglass has gotten kind of fogged. Is there
Yeah,
something that
it
can
would
be-
need to have, and that's pretty easy to do. I fixed that. It was coming apart, so I went ahead and did a little number on it and cleaned up and fixed it. But yeah, it could be cut around the edges, taken out a piece of glass, put in, and then that's a pretty straightforward. Then we, just go ahead and stop it around, and that would.
Plexiglass, another piece of plexiglass.
We could use plexiglass or glass. If it was glass, it would have to be tempered. The last glass I bought was probably around $400. It's not astronomical, but it can happen. I'm working with wooden glass a lot here lately, so we can talk to those guys and see what they would do. I, of course, would put my time and money with the crew on here to make it ready for installation.
Well, I would like to ask Mr. Chester to bring us a quote on making those.
Okay, yeah.
To replace that plexiglass with, maybe 2 quotes, with plexiglass and with tempered glass.
Yeah.
And bring us a.
That at the time was Lexan, and that was pretty expensive piece there. Like I say, it's been through 2 hurricanes and 3 tropical storms. It's still standing there, so and nobody's taking the
Those
fish.
fish inside there are beautiful, and I would like for them to be able to be seen.
Yeah, it could use an upgrade.
Okay, all right, and then I see Miss Tamara.
I just, to piggyback that, I took a 9-year-old on a tour of the waterfront last week, and he said, "You guys need to fix that glass because I can't see
Okay.
the fish." But my comment is, someone has posted a sign about something, the sign was perfectly good, but they actually attached it to that fish structure.
Mhm.
And it really needs to be somewhere that really, when we start posting other signs on there, it totally takes away what the intention was.
Yeah.
I think
So-
it's the FWC sign.
Well,
I
but
was looking at it the other day.
if it
They
could
put it
just
up.
be put on a normal sign holder, there's 3 of them right there.
They don't ask. They don't ask.
Well,
Just show up.
do
and post
we
it.
need to write them a letter and tell them we're going to relocate
Yeah, we'll relocate it.
their sign to the.
Yeah, they just come put them up.
Okay, well, any other comments or questions for this item, or to Mr. Chester?
Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you for your volunteer time and for coming in
My pleasure.
today.
See you
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. forward here to item 2, discussion of possible action on mural location at 102 St. James Avenue, Rio, and this is the Rio Carrabelle building owned by Mr. Bo May. And I see Mr. Cosby Hayes is going to speak.
Thanks for having me, y'all. So I have provided an image of the wall that we're proposing. It's right downtown. I'm sure y'all are all familiar with Rio Carrabelle. I think it'd be a great wall. It would greet visitors when they're coming in from the opposite direction. You've got all the shop fronts right around there, the post office. And there's this community that's growing, this vibrant arts community inside Rio Carrabelle. There's people painting and they're having art openings, and some of the artists there have even expressed interest in taking part in the next mural that gets painted here in Carrabelle. So I think it could be a collaborative effort even, and offer, you know, another aspect of why public art can be really special, I think. So I hope y'all will consider it. I saw Mr. Mays here in case y'all have any questions, and my goal would be to come to y'all next month for the next meeting with a proposal, maybe some drafts, some concepts, and you know, a little bit more realistic plan for what it might look like.
All right, okay, thank you. Mr. May said that he would be agreeable for the wall to be used for a mural under terms required by the CRA. Hello, Mr. May. And I think he has seen the agreement. I think he was on board when we were using that agreement. And that it's in effect for 10 years, so are you aware of that, in effect for 10 years? And are you aware that the project must be advertised through a bidding process for a professional mural art, wall art team, that we just, you know, we would have to put it out for bid? And most definitely have to put it out for bid, because I have received several comments on both walls that why weren't the local artists, you know, allowed to bid. But we have advertised for professional art teams. Now, some cities will have a professional, you know, someone who has done mural wall art, and then they'll allow some local artists to join in. But we do have to put that to bid. Did y'all have an image or a theme or something that y'all were talking about or anything?
So the proposal, I guess, that I'm hoping to bring would be a composition that essentially would function as a visual timeline of Carrabelle through the years. The concept we had discussed was maybe focusing on various industries, kind of working its way up through modernity. And at the end it would maybe reveal the harbor in its current state, the airport, things like that. The things that make Carrabelle what it is today, the fishing boats and recreational boats. And then starting with when Carrabelle wasn't even accessible by road, when it was only by train or by boat. And I think something like that could be really interesting. You know, people love the historical aspects, but it could be done in a way that's a little bit more contemporary. I think it'd be cool. Okay.
Well, and I'll just speak to the board a few moments. We all know that we just spent $25,000 on 2 murals, and I kind of think we need the opportunity to see how these murals are going to hold up. Mr. Cosby Hayes did one, how they're going to hold up in the weather, how much maintenance they're going to need, because in the agreement, the CRA is responsible for maintaining the mural if anything, you know, happens to it, if it gets faded or graffiti or whatever. Some cities, now we have only just 2 or 3 buildings that are brick, and some cities won't allow murals on brick walls, brick buildings. We don't have that, but I'm just reporting. Some cities will not allow murals on historic buildings, just saying, that's not in our agreement. Some cities won't allow murals on buildings that are on the National Register or even recommended for the National Historic Register. So, you know, just bringing this up to you to let you know before we decide, you know, that we would actually put paint on one of our very few brick buildings. But of course, the owner could put paint on it if he wanted to. But he's requesting us to do that. So, we have some other items coming up in this agenda regarding paving. There's quite a few. I don't know if y'all got to take a look at the proposals there. And this could be another project for next year, for next fiscal year, is what I'm trying to say. We've looked at two projects now that could be the water plant. We're gonna need projects for next year, the water plant and the Mariners Memorial, and this certainly could be a project for next year if we decide we want to do it. We've got 5 months. We'd have to put it out to bid and get bids and go through that bidding process, and we would probably be into next year anyway, in the fiscal year, which starts October 1st.
Okay, thank you so much. I
But
appreciate the opportunity.
Is that all right? Let's take a look at how our other murals go, how our budget is looking, and maybe plan another mural for next year.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
So what you're saying, put it off?
Yeah, we'll put it on the, talk about it for our budget in the 2022-23 fiscal year. And this is a good, we're always looking for locations. I appreciate the offer for the location.
I do too, and I don't feel like, and not being contradictory, but I don't feel like we're putting it off. I feel like we're planning. Because we have nothing presented to us today specific about approving or trying to approve a mural of any conceptual plan today.
No.
So I see this is planning right here, so.
Right, and I would say, the offer for the wall is good. We have a hard time finding a location.
Absolutely.
Then we need to know, what is the, Mr. May gonna be, happy with the type of, what the theme is, or the image. For instance, we had a long ordeal with the FDOT to get the theme and the image approved that y'all did on your conceptual. So we need a theme or image, and then we take that topic out and advertise that for bid, and they bring back their, the artist teams would, submit their proposals, and we would go from there.
Well, things being said, just as have already been said, but reiterate, the owner of the building, I hate to see the brick painted,
I
but
do too.
he could paint it himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's his building, he's entitled to do with it his building. But on the other hand, that's a very visible place.
Yeah.
Location within the city, so, I'm open.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
y'all's
very
time.
much. Appreciate the offer for the location. Okay. All right, then we'll move on to the Innovia Consulting projects. Item 1, the Marine Street Revitalization Project Progress Report. Discussion and possible action, if any recommended changes. And we had asked you to let us know if the Marine Street streetlight replacement could be completed as phase 1 of the revitalization project.
Okay, we did have the street lamps being replaced as part of the grant program. So that is included within the grant program. So to answer the question, yes, that can be included in phase 1 of what's constructed on Marine Street.
All right.
Okay,
Changing out the light.
my only question there, Russell, I think, just to clarify for myself, that was a question I had. Phase 2, is there a phase 2, I'm assuming?
Well, I think the concept is if a portion of the work isn't able to be funded with this round, that phase 2 would be whatever wasn't funded out of phase 1. Am I answering your question?
Well, my concern at that time, which that's an engineer thing, my question had to do with an engineer, is the phases of the work. Some of that work is going to require groundwork. And were we going to be putting the cart before the horse by doing the lighting and then having to come back and do some of that groundwork, which was going to interrupt what we just did with the light?
But, yes,
I see your point. The
you're worried
sequence.
about the wiring underneath, yeah.
The sequence of construction.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. The only area where that would be an issue, I think, is around where the boardwalk would be. And I just thinking out loud here, you know, that the conduit is already underground. So the replacement of the boardwalk, I don't anticipate that would impact those underground lines or the conduit that's underground. I don't anticipate that those would be affected by the boardwalk construction. And really, the light fixtures themselves are all above ground. All the work is above ground on the light fixture.
But the wiring
So-
is underground.
Right.
And some of the work that's gonna be done, groundwork, that's gonna be disturbed, correct me if I'm wrong, is gonna be there close to the boat ramp where the sidewalks and that bulkhead is
Yes.
cracked, and
Yes.
I was concerned about the extent that the disruption of the ground right there may interfere with some of the underground wiring.
I see. I see.
And I can understand that, and we have, Courtney's, you know, just reported, we've spent some money on the streetlight repairs. If they'll hold out,
Yeah.
then we'll be fine. Of course, we still have 7 that don't work, but, you know, if they all go dark, but then maybe if we can get the ground torn up, we can say it's torn up.
Okay.
I guess I'm a conservative, and my only concern is there is spending money that we don't have to, and again, you're the engineer,
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah. Right.
I would hate to spend money on putting something in the ground, then we have to tear it back out.
Agreed. Yeah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to. We don't want
I
double.
don't think we would.
We don't want double work. That's true. So, you know, we also have a 2-inch water service that we're doing a directional bore under the road there too. So I think the thing to do is require of the contractor, and this is reasonable to do. Ask him to locate those wires that are underground, and he can do that. They can be painted, and to the extent possible, it could be avoided during the construction of anything else that's done. And they can even do a soft dig and determine the depth of those wires or conduits to make sure they avoid it. So they can locate them during construction and make sure they're avoided. The items that require earthwork disturbance are the sidewalk repair and the seawall repair, which is beyond the sidewalk, obviously, and then the water service construction. I think it's reasonable to expect the contractor to locate those wires and to avoid them, protect them during construction. I think that's reasonable. I think he can do it reasonably, and I think it's reasonable for us to ask him to do it that way.
Or, you know, let's let them get started. Where were they going to start, actually? Were they going to start on this wooden boardwalk? Are they going to start on the south side where the sidewalk is? I mean, if they're going to do that, then...
Yeah, it seems to me some of those things could be done at the same time.
Okay, by different
Not
contractors.
necessarily would be the same contractor doing all
Right.
of the work.
That's true.
Uh-huh.
That's true.
And
Well-
I do have some pictures up here. Marie Fox had contacted me yesterday wanting some pictures of the Marine Street project and some of the things that we were doing. So I think this is the bulkhead.
Yeah.
You can see some of the lighting that's bad and the boardwalk here.
So how about just let's let them get started first, and certainly they're gonna have to mark out the utilities and see how things go, and if it looks like that we can go ahead and start moving forward with the street lights, then let's do that too.
Right.
Did you all say, I can't remember, have you all picked out the lamps yet?
Yes.
I think you was based on the ones that we had gotten the quote on.
Right.
Way before.
The previous one, that is true. That is currently what we have in the plan. If that needs to change, we can make that change.
I'll have to find that. It's been a long
I
time.
think-
Was
I-
that
I
5
think-
years ago or something? That's been a long time.
Okay, but I think they should go ahead and order the lamps, because it might be 2 years before. you know.
They may should go ahead and order the concrete, everything is taking a long time.
Yes, I mean, whatever you can get, but the lamps, that's the kind of stuff that might not come for a long time. You might get 2 lamps and you never get the rest of them or something. So if you can't get the lamps you're looking for, maybe you need to make another decision on it. And pick out, you know, don't bring it to us unless you can't make a decision, because then we'd be all day long trying to pick out the lamps. Just make it look good.
If I recall, it was something similar to what we have down there.
Yeah,
now.
it was similar, and it was from 2019.
And it's something
So-
that the what's their name there? The power, Duke Energy is going to maintain, right? That's what we want, something Duke Energy is going to maintain.
I hope so.
At that, Courtney, now I did ask at that CRA convention, you know, there were a lot of light fixture vendors there. And they all said that they had fixtures that the utility companies would maintain. Some of them that would not, and some that they would. It seemed like the ones that sat on the top were more ones that the utility companies would maintain. And that would save us a lot of money. They might not be as decorative, but that, you know, we're paying a good bit of money to Suncoast. And I maybe could go back and find a couple of those brochures even. Okay.
I don't think I have it on this. I think they look similar to the one.
Okay.
It's kind of just related to the project, to Russell. Are we replacing the underground wiring for all these lights during this project?
No, that was not part of.
That was not part of it?
Right.
Courtney, is that not what we've had some issue with, is the wiring underground?
I don't know.
I thought after the last Hurricane Michael, when it flooded down there,
I
we
think
had
we
some.
got that fixed.
Huh?
I thought we fixed that.
Yeah, but we did, it was underground wiring, wasn't
Yes.
it? Yeah. Water got to it underground. And it's just a concern.
Okay. Well, that was not part of the plans. And I think, I mean, if there's anything that's specifically identified that needs to be corrected, then we can add them to the plans.
And that was during Michael, so that was the highest that I think we've ever
Right.
seen.
And there was only
now.
one light, wasn't it? Or
It
two?
was- I think it was only a couple lights,
Yeah.
but it had to do with
It
underground
got
wiring
in the wire.
that water got to. Yeah. And it, water getting to it shorts it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, is there anything else? Do y'all have a kind of a time frame or?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Fox Enterprises, they're still working with DEO to get the environmental document finalized and approved. And we've provided them with some information recently, and it sounds like Courtney has also. But as soon as that's finalized, we'll be ready to put it out for bid.
Okay, all right,
Not to that point yet.
all right.
And it may not have any direct effect, but just a thought, Courtney, is depending on what fishing season, when the contractor starts and has a lot of equipment, especially in the area where they're gonna take all that sidewalk up, there could be some.
Fishing season.
Yeah. Depending on what fishing season you have going, there could be some issues, if you will. You know what I'm.
Yeah, that's a good point. And is that typically a weekend issue?
Most of the time, weekend or holiday.
Yeah.
Will they still be able to use the boat ramp in the parking lot?
Yes.
You just have to mark off the sidewalk.
Sure, I was just thinking though, if they had large equipment, and they had it sitting there over the weekend in that drive-through. Anyway, just some thoughts.
Now, the drive-through, they don't have to use that circular.
No, they don't.
They should be able to,
Yeah.
it's just a convenience.
Right.
All right. Fishing season. Okay, and I also want to just say that I would recommend when we come to the budget, and keep this in the back of your heads, that we up the 3-year commitment on this project, because we've got $25,000 now committed to it, but it's no telling what may happen with the prices, so, you know, we may wanna, you know, when we're doing our budget, up that commitment so that it's hard to say
It really
what the
is.
prices are gonna be.
It really is.
Okay. And we wanna be able to, you know, put in all the streetlights and all the concrete, do the
Well,
boardwalk.
We do, and that's a very valid point. It just coincidentally, I listened to the county commission meeting, Franklin County Commission meeting this morning, and just as an example, they bid their sprinkler system that they've been working on for the armory for quite a while, and it come in $500,000 more than they anticipated.
It sure did. Well, I think it was $659,000
Just
more.
yeah.
They've already been to the TDC for the money. So,
That was more than what they anticipated.
all right. So we'll move on to item 2, the southeast 5th Street, Southeast Avenue D paving, the change orders that include, and we've got quite a list of them, and we'll just let Russell go over that with us, and then we'll look at the budget. Courtney and I took a quick look at that to see how we might be able to fund some items there.
Okay, this is a change order to the contract with North Florida Asphalt. We do have unit prices established under their existing contract, but it's been explained to us that petroleum prices have increased pretty significantly. They did provide us with an estimate on each of these projects, with a bid, a quoted bid price on each of these locations. The sum total is $151,552.
Does that count the Ryan Drive?
No, that is not counting the Ryan Drive. Right. So sum total $151,552. I did want to point out on the 2nd Street, we did get a quote for the parking there separate from the roadway, and they're about the same. And Courtney, I had sent you an exhibit. I just wanted to point out why those were that way.
Okay, because I'm gonna have to bring that to Commissioner Ward on the county side. You know, we were thinking more of it was gonna be in the 5,000.
Right.
I mean, this is double, I mean, this is the same price as the street. So you've gotta help me now.
Okay,
I can
so
bring it to
one reason why that is that we took the road completely separate from the parking area.
Yes, sir.
So the part that's in blue there, or purple, that's basically the 20-foot wide road. And then from the edge of the travel lane, that is what we are counting as the parking. You can see the cars that are parked in the parking spots, but there's additional width behind the cars, so we included that as part of the parking lot.
Is that part, that Courtney too, is that part of the
Right of way?
county property? Is
When
that
I
yellow?
pulled it up, me and Russell looked at this before the meeting, so when I pull it up on tax collector,
You know, I want to offer them the opportunity to pave that all in one nice project. I don't want to treat them the way we were treated with downtown Carrabelle. You know, you do unto others as you have them do unto you, and maybe we can set an example.
I'm with you, I'm not laughing with you, not at you.
It's not right.
I can find Florida. Florida.
I think she went the long way around to get to that
Yeah.
site.
So what Russell's saying is that you can kind of see a seam through here. See, so he's got these parking spaces going out to about here.
So just the parking spaces are on the county property. but when we say parking lot, I separated it from the roadway. So,
Travel lane and not the right of way.
right. Right now, I mean.
How wide and how long is the right of way right there?
I believe that's.
By
is it-
60.
I was gonna say, it's either 60 or 80.
I agree with, it should be about 6 feet like Keisha says.
So,
So, if that's at the pleasure of the board, we can adjust that to include the part that's in the right-of-way as part of the roadway. We could make that adjustment.
I would suggest you do that.
okay. All right.
Okay.
And that might lower it maybe by
Right.
somewhere around $5,000.
Right.
Lower it to around 10,000. So I
Right.
told her it was gonna be between, he said 5, but I told her it was to expect 8. I mean, and that was way before the prices went up.
Okay.
And then I'll get, once I can get this adjusted price, I will get with her right away because North Florida Asphalt's going to be in the area and they're going to want to start doing these projects.
Right.
So I'll get with her right away. It won't have to go before the board because it's under a certain amount and she can make her own decisions on her log account.
I see.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'll make a motion that we take the responsibility of the city's right-of-way there as our contribution to the library parking area.
To pave the right of way.
That's correct.
Okay, and we have that motion by Commissioner Miller. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that little portion there? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. All right. So, when you said that when you said you quoted your price 151, 552, you did not include that 16,836 for the county.
I did include it.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I added, what I did then, because yours was a little bit different than mine, I added all of the projects up, and that included, because right now we need to know how much is everything going to cost the CRA, and so we can either keep it in or whittle something out or something, all of these projects. I included, maybe somebody wants to add it up, the $31,700 for the southeast 9th Street there that goes from Highway 98 to Gulf. And then the northeast 9th Street, which is proposed, $75,235. And then the southeast 1st Street, behind the Georgian Hotel at $33,390.50. And then the off-street parking right-of-way there at the Marathon gas station at $15,595. And then the northwest 2nd Street resurface just at the just this roadway at $16,264. And then not the library parking. And then the Owen Avenue cut at $9,745, and the Marks Street cut at $8,976. And we're not looking at Ryan Drive, we'll take that up on the commission side. And then the Tallahassee Street, from Highway 98 to Northeast Avenue A, Northwest Avenue A intersection parking spaces at $24,496. And I came up with $190,960.25.
What's that again?
Oh, what did you
190?
come up with, Ms. Courtney?
Just now I come up with 215,401.50.
Wow.
Okay.
Long difference in figures.
Well,
Maybe I got something wrong.
yeah, well, we need to know, so we can,
Let's see.
What's your total again?
190,960. And I brought my calculator here with me, but I hate to belabor, but we do need to make this decision because
We
they're
do.
in the area. If I turn it on, it helps.
Did you recalculate, Mr. Russell?
No, I didn't have all of those.
Okay.
I come up with 215, 402, 25. What did you get? Is that what you got? Okay, let's go with that one.
215.
Uh-huh.
What was the rest?
402.25. That's not bad.
That's a lot of payment for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
that's
is a
good
lot of
amount
payment.
for
Don't be
that much
scared.
money.
We thought it was gonna be lower only because we didn't know prices were gonna be like this. But we looked at our budget, Courtney and I did real quick because we just got this, just late this afternoon. And, it looks like we've got $380,804 that can be appropriated. And that is.
And that's in this current year budget.
Mhm. And that's if we go, and Courtney, did you bring that printout with you? Okay, or maybe you could show that to them.
The
Now,
one that you sent me, is that the one we're looking?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we allocated a
With-
lot for this.
Okay, so,
With what's been, information that's been spoken
mhm.
about, I'm gonna make a motion that we go ahead and proceed with all these projects.
I have a question on one of them.
Now, we have a motion on the floor. And I know Courtney has a question, and I would like to entertain that too, but, okay, let's do that let's answer the motion, and then we're gonna have some discussion.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Melander, second by Brown, to proceed with all these projects.
All the projects as stated, under that 215,000, whatever you said, 215,
What was that?
402 and a quarter.
Hello.
And we currently have the money in the budget to do it,
Okay,
of 300 and some odd thousand that you said we had.
yeah,
Where's it coming from?
all right, that's what we're gonna review here. Did you have that?
I have it here.
Okay. All right, so, our actual income will be that 655,000, but she's not showing that. Our regular budget, under training, we budgeted 1,000, and we budgeted 1,000 for travel. I, just went ahead and upped that, just throwing things in, trying to make sure we had a good buffer. This afternoon, I put $5,000 there in the event we decided we wanted to go to conference, any of us. On the next one, under maintenance and repair, I put $20,000 there. We've already spent $12,372, but we do have Sands Park that we're working on, and then there's gonna be, you'll see some repairs that need to be done at Messer Pavilion as well. And then under, let's see what this is. Streetlights and lot cleanup, Courtney suggested streetlights and lot cleanup. We have $50,000 budgeted there, and she suggested that we keep 15 in there because of just the things like we just talked about, the demo. And then the next one, can't keep my murals. All right, we've had funded 20 for murals, and this year, and we've spent 10 so far. Now, if we don't spend another 10 this year and wait till next year and start another mural project or two, that would give us an additional $10,000. The flagpole memorial. Right now, we've got $27,000 to $27,895. I threw another $10,000 at that, just as a buffer, to make sure we, got some money to spend on that. Façade grant, right now, we've got one outstanding façade grant, so that would make $47,600 that we would have spent on façade grants. That would leave us $80,400 if we don't issue any more façade grants. Courtney did say she had someone pick up an application though. And then Holiday on the Harbor, I just put $8,000 at that because we know what our fireworks, how that increased, and Courtney thought $8,000 might be enough. So by padding the budget like that, and that's what I'm saying, this is just an example. By spending that money that we've just gone over, that still leaves $380,000 and $804,000 for that needs to be allocated. And if we spent the 200 and how much does that leave?
214.
214 out of that 380. It's going to leave 100.
215, 402.
Well, no, we had said like 190 or something.
189,
That's what we had
let's see.
talked about.
Holiday on the Harbor's next fiscal year, though, right? We already
Well,
spent
we were needing to make a decision today where the contractor.
That's right, thank you. So we don't need to worry about that one.
I was thinking about that the other day too. I was like, how did we already, oh yes.
Oh, so that would leave about 165. And then we're not gonna have to spend Holiday on the Harbor. It's already been spent, so that's another 8,000. So, what did I say, 165?
160. Wait, yes.
And Tony, you have a mathematical brain, like 173, so somewhere 170, 175,000 we'd still have in the budget that needs to be allocated.
That seems like a good.
But, Courtney reviewed this, I want to, make sure you feel comfortable, but she has a comment about one of the projects.
I have a comment about one of the projects, Southeast Avenue, 9th Street, is on the north side of 98. It came in at $75,000, and there's only one person that lives on that road, and that seems extremely high to me. And we have the money to spend it, but a better option may be to do some new asphalt, or what is it?
And that's the highest one.
I think 75,000 is benefiting one person.
And I understand that too. I'm taking that under some good consideration.
So am I, and then you've brought it to my attention again as well. In that $75,000 estimate or cost, what kind of surfacing was that? Hard surfacing?
I think it was
That's the open graded hot mix.
Guess what?
The open graded hot mix
And that was the less expensive.
was the less expensive.
But the road's not built up, or?
Yes.
Yeah,
You
you gotta clear the road, right.
Now, would it be less expensive? You gotta build the road, kind of, build the road up, and then what would it be like to put milled asphalt? What would that do? Would that reduce the price? Would it? Because
Yes, and city crews probably have milled material that they can place, some.
But even if you had to buy new material, it
Right.
wouldn't be 75,000.
And I do have concerns about that one person we have
There's one home on the road.
Yeah.
That's it.
And one person lives in that house, there's no children.
I have and I'm glad this was brought up, because I should have focused in on that particular project a little bit more. Russell, what if we, as Keisha said, there's not even a build-up or anything there. There's no work improvement been done for future. What if we just did a preliminary build-up with road-based material and bring that thing up to a grade or a standard to where in the future that we had something to work from paving? How would that affect us in cost? That
All right,
should be much cheaper.
I can tell you that in just a moment.
I've got a comment too. I do want to add that I have been in touch with Jimmy Crowder, and he is fixing to do something on those lots right behind that house.
Okay.
On that road, I mean.
Behind there, so,
And if we road brace it to get it to a standard where we can do something more aggressive next year or the year after.
so
we'd
we
be
are
better
gonna
shape
need
do
to
it.
do something to it, because it's been brought up
Yeah.
that we gotta get it back to them anyway.
I think I'm fine with bringing it up to a higher standard and a better road, but that's just a lot of money to me.
And I do think, I also thought, with Courtney, we talked about it on the phone. I said, well, that's gonna provide the good access to all that land there, vacant land, but it's vacant, maybe. I have mixed feelings about it. I would like to do like Commissioner Millender says, and at least get it built up to some kind of a dirt, rural roadway, a real rural roadway, dirt style. Yes, Mr. Gregg?
If you're gonna be working on that, as you're saying, and if Crowder, is that further down the road that Crowder's?
It's behind Cecil.
Maybe you should plan on just going the whole and getting it ready. If he's planning on doing something and you got the crew out there.
Right. Well, that's what I was mentioning. That's why I brought it up, because it just clicked, because we're gonna have to provide them access to their property, so we need to go the extra half a block there, because I think it ends and he's just right on the next property.
Do it all at once.
I see. Now so the quote that we received was for full, 2 lanes of traffic, road, it's a road. But to answer your question about just bringing it up to grade and making it dirt, that's going to put you in the $52,000 range.
Let me make a suggestion. I'd like to amend my motion to go through with the projects currently listed with the exception of this, is that 9th Street?
9th Street Northeast.
9th Street Northeast, and let's take that one separately and look at what we're gonna do with it.
I'll second that.
Okay.
You said to exclude it?
What,
To
to exclude or remove?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I'll still have my motion excluding
Okay.
the 9th Street Northeast, and we'll take that one up as a separate motion,
All right, just hold on a minute.
trying to make it simple.
Okay, now what we need to do now, we need to vote on this amendment first, and the amendment, and let me just see if I can get it right. The amendment is to amend the motion to exclude the Northeast 9th Street from the project list.
Correct.
And to take that and take up this project, Northeast 9th Street project, as a separate project.
Correct.
Okay. So that's what the motion is. This is the motion we're gonna be dealing with right now.
It's approving all the other projects.
But we'll go back to that one, but right now we have a motion to exclude the Northeast 9th Street from the project list and to take that Northeast 9th Street project up as a separate project.
Can we do?
And that's by Commissioner Millender.
Yeah, but let me ask a question, Mayor. Can we do that, Dan? We had a motion on the floor. I was amending my motion.
I'm dealing with the amendment first.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Then deal with it first, yeah.
And then it'll come around.
Okay.
It'll be all right. So we have that motion by Commissioner Millender. Okay. It'll be good. and that's good. All right, so, any more discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the, original motion. And now we need to keep in mind that we have just removed the Northeast 9th Street project. Okay, now the original motion is to proceed with all the projects as stated. So, and that's the original motion. So we can proceed with all the projects that are as stated, excluding the
Except-
Northeast 9th Street project. Is that correct, Mr. Hartman?
That's the amendment.
Yeah. We already did the
They already
amendment.
So
approved
now
it.
you got the
The
Original
original.
motion.
original motion and proceed on that.
Just take
Yeah,
it.
as
And
amended.
you did quote the 215,402,
Minus
but
75.
we would, minus that 75,000.
Correct.
Yeah, I think, the math.
Yeah, we
assuming
got
math
it.
is correct.
We got it, so, and just to say, before we're in discussion here, just to say what it's gonna be, it's and how much is that project? 75,235? Yes. It will be 140,167. Okay? So it's to proceed with all the projects as stated, which we have already stated that we're gonna be removing we have removed the Northeast 9th Street project.
Okay, we're still in discussion now, right?
Mhm.
Question. Mr. Russell, on Tallahassee Street, does that include striping?
Confirm, I'm sure that it does.
If we resurface, does that include striping of the parking areas?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking
I know it does on the library.
about.
Painted pavement markings,
Yes.
standard white, solid 6-inch.
Yes.
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 Painted markings.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's the only question I had.
Do we have any other questions regarding these projects? Do we know where these projects are? Any other, and it's a lot of paving, but it's good.
Paving that needs to be done.
All right, and we're gonna get those Mark Street and Owens Drive those cuts repaired after 8 years or so, or more. All right, then, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, and that motion carries. Okay. I did have one other that I had thrown in.
Can I,
Yeah.
before you, I know where you going, but can I?
Where am I going?
Well, I didn't mean it that way. Greg's looking at you left.
Where am I going?
Can we go back to that 9th Street?
Yeah, we sure can.
And let's see if we can move forward with it as well. But Keisha brought up a valid point. That would need to be added to, that length of road would need to be added to.
If it would have been any other developer, we would have required them to open the road.
I had already told him that they
Would
could
have to
do the
open it.
work, that they could do the work. That's the business they're in, so, but, if we're already there. I don't know what he's putting in there, what kind of business he's putting in there.
Well,
It's commercial.
That's
also,
commercial.
also keep in mind that the quote we got was for the open graded hot mix. If that's the product you want there, okay, but, the developer may, expect, traditional pavement. on
Well,
the
and if it's a
roadway.
commercial business, it may not hold up on
True.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
If he's running.
If he's
That-
running
that
trucks
whole
through there,
block is
it will not hold
commercial.
up. Okay, if he's running trucks through there.
Yeah.
It will not hold up.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't want to put any work into it until after he had done his developing back there,
Agreed.
because I don't want
Agreed.
him to be tearing it up.
Well,
That's
that's
right.
kind of what I was thinking too, it just not Not completed.
or at least not the final lift.
Right.
Well, I'm just wondering if we want to go ahead and do, in my mind, thinking about going ahead and doing the part of it that we were looking at in just preparing
Yeah,
and putting road base there.
right,
Road base is a good hard surface lime rock. We're on the same page, right?
right.
Okay. Something that prepares your roadway for asphalt in the
Right.
future. And that would be less of a cost, I'm sure, than what we're talking about with paving.
And then,
I
you
think
know,
you
it
said
also,
55.
his is actually gonna be, now that I'm pulling it up, it's gonna be the block before the house.
Okay.
So it's the block before, so it will be on the way.
Now, is he gonna tear up the road?
I spoke to him about using, 7th Street and Avenue A that goes around that, the big storage building that's already there, because that road's opened all the way through already, as far as getting to it to do work. Now, when it comes to a site plan and a business, you know, I doubt he's gonna want people going up 7th Street all the way around the corner just to get to that corner property right there. So I told him to go use 7th Street and go around. Yeah, but I was to get to it, to develop it using Avenue A back in the back. But if he has a business, I don't know what kind of business it's gonna be. It would have to come before the board. I doubt, they're not gonna wanna use the back road. They're gonna be coming off 98.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to suggest that we go ahead again and prepare that section of 9th Street that we were looking at with road base. And we'll see what develops from there with future development.
Can you go back to the bid price thing?
And Russell, I'm assuming we could probably use the same contractor, road building contractor, to perform those tasks without paying.
We could, yes. The road preparation for open grader hot mix is a little different, so I would need to get an updated quote from him to place road base. So it would be, I think I told you 52 without pavement, but to include 6 inches lime rock base, I'd have to add that. So it would be a little more, I'd have to get an updated quote.
Right, you wouldn't have the paint, striping, or any of that?
No, and I think it's gonna be somewhere in the 60,000 range, 65,000 range.
It's
No,
not.
And
I
I mean, I
that
had,
much, though, in under 15.
It's not like the pavement's
Well,
cheap.
well,
Their trucks
That- yeah,
might
but it's-
ruin it.
you're right.
But would the construction, potential construction mess up the road base? Probably not, I don't know. What if we ask him to bring us a scope of work, because most likely they won't be finished with all of this before. And this is a different kind of a job now, because I don't think they're gonna be building a road on any of these others, they're already.
right.
uh,
Well, and you know, back when I talked to Mr. Crowder, and his associates, I told him, you know, more than likely they was gonna have to do the work, you know, so they were prepared for that, so, I mean.
Maybe before we vote on spending all this money, can we talk to him and find out what their plans are, and then we can go from there?
Yeah, and meanwhile, let Mr. Russell bring us a formal scope of work for that, a
Because
new
if they
quote
get
for
cleared,
that.
that's the majority of our costs.
Well, let me bring up one thing just historically, right? Historically, when the road is not on the city's capital improvement plan or road plan or the county's road plan, that sort of thing, sometimes the county will come in and help us out, obviously. What we have done is we give the owner permission to open the right-of-way, improve it to whatever extent he needs to access his property. Like, we can't tell people they can't use a public right-of-way to get to their property, but it's up to them to approve it to the point that they can access their property, and we let them go forth and conquer on that. But if it's not typical for the city, in my experience, that where we're not already, we don't already have that road on our improvement plan, we don't put it on or accelerate it, whatever, because of the kind of disproportionate cost to build someone basically a driveway to their home across the city right away. I was just asking, kind of whispering to Russell, he's indicating we have a homeowner who asked us to open that road, and usually we put it back on them and say, no, you can open it as to the extent you need to, and then ultimately when we get to it, sure, we bring it up to our own standards and maintain it and do all that. But until that time, it's a driveway.
It's a driveway, essentially.
It's a driveway.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah. And you build your own driveway. I mean, if you have a truck, you can leave it a little rougher. If you have a car, you may want to keep dust down or put a lime rock down or do whatever you want to do. But that's, and again, staff can, I mean, Keisha.
And Dustin's went in there, and we've put some new old asphalt, and I think he's not complaining right now, but about
It just
what's
drops,
really
it's
happening.
so low below the highway, it drops down so low that it just, everything washes down it, and it just don't stay long.
And the homeowner does complain constantly about dropping hard off that sidewalk on the north side of the
Right.
sidewalk. I mean, we have funding, if there's something we can do to ease that, to buy mill or to buy road base or something to help, ease that transition.
But not necessarily make it a two-lane highway
Yeah,
there.
or,
Well,
well,
and the issue is, once we do embark on the improvements, they're ours. So we're stuck maintaining somebody's driveway.
Yeah.
We're doing it
Yeah,
now.
and if we're doing it now, we're doing
It's an open road, it's not, you're talking about opening a road, it's open.
Is that an improvement or maintenance?
Well, and, there's another road near here that needs surfacing or good road base, very near here, and it has several houses on it. And it's a dirt road, and it's just around the corner from here. And so,
It is.
how's that gonna work out? That's something we need to look at next year, or if there's funding available towards the end of the year, fund that, just to keep in mind, there's other
And I
areas.
had a chance to look at this 9th Street one, but I'm assuming, Russell, maybe most of that 75,000 is building the road, right?
Yeah, that is.
Well,
much
he
of it.
gave us, he said it'd be 50, 60,000.
Just to build the road.
And I had no idea it would be that costly.
Me either.
But now we know the number, what it's gonna cost us to build the road, that we can certainly report that to the homeowner, and that we are working on it.
Right.
Let's ask
Oh,
Russell,
I'm following, I'm with you.
let's ask
I would
Russell
love
to
to-
bring us a scope of work on it.
I would love for the homeowner to be able to help him within reason, but before we came here today, I didn't realize what we were looking at for one property owner, and that property owner is important. We should help them as best we can.
Yes.
And then when Keisha entered into the picture of a potential, if you will, development, things that's gonna happen within that block is the reason why I had me.
Right, and I don't know how
But-
soon, because
but
that's
after
preliminary.
more discussion, I'm realizing that, that we may need to wait a little bit and see what transpires. Because I know of other roads, just as the mayor just brought up, I know of other roads that we could be,
That
that have much more residents than one of them.
Right, and,
Yeah.
several homes, and there's two vehicles per home, and this one you got one home and one vehicle. But it's, the person does need to have access, and if
Sure.
they needed emergency access or something, there needs to be access for that, we understand. So could you bring us a quote or scope of work or whatever to build that road up, and we'll consider that next
Okay.
month.
All right, yes.
Well, and also give us time to see where this other potential
Yeah.
is gonna go.
I probably won't get that. They don't just come out and say, oh, guess what I'm doing here, you know?
No, they want you to guess.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
they
they
saw,
do.
I have conversations for months, even years before we get around to what they're gonna do. They never come out and say, this is what I'm gonna do with this piece of property, just, you know, kind of filling out, see what the city's gonna offer, you know, and back and forth. So like I said, this could be a year or more out even, so.
Okay, so, and then I was going over to, do you know where I was going? Where?
11th Street.
Fisherman's Wife. I'm going to Fisherman's Wife now. Courtney and I were over there several times to check on that mural. And that is like milled asphalt. We offered to pave that back whenever we were doing the Northwest Avenue B project. And it's just a big mess over there, and Dustin gets called out to come and repair potholes and this and that. It's off-street, right-of-way parking in front of the Fisherman's Wife. And I'm wondering if we could get an estimate for the hot graded for that area as well. Would that hold up better than the milled asphalt that we have?
I would take a look at it. It may be that we could pave that with traditional asphalt. That may be a possibility.
Okay,
I'll take a look at it.
I would go with that as well. I just didn't know about the pervious versus non-pervious. We had to put non-pervious over by the IGA.
Right.
On the east side, so I just didn't know.
Right.
What is
That's a
doable.
good point too.
Okay. Can we have him bring a quote
Yes.
on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. All right. Is there anything else on this one? Courtney, Keisha, Mr. Russell?
All good.
Right. Item 3 then, Russell's still up. The military service flagpoles memorial at Veterans Park, discussion and possible action if any recommended changes, and so Mr. Russell was going to bring us the architectural, we've got the, well, we had the hand-drawn sketch, and you were gonna
Yes.
maybe bring us an architectural, so
Yes,
there
so-
she is.
Right, so we've got the
Okay.
final plans for the architecture part. Courtney, this is existing conditions.
Go to the next one.
Keep scrolling. Okay, so that's, that's existing too. Okay. That one. All right, so that's the landscape plan, the site plan. And then clouded in red there, that's the portion of the sidewalk that we'll bid as an alternate, to be included now or later, depending on how that bid comes in. But that's the layout, as approved. And, on the electrical part, if you wanna go to that other exhibit, Courtney, show you where the lighting.
The other sketch.
Yes, yeah, thank
That's really weird, Courtney.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that's showing how the lighting would be arranged at each flagpole. There's gonna be uplighting to the flags. And then in the center of the American flag, there would be 5 lights that uplight the American flag. And those lights would operate from dusk till dawn on a photocell, operated by photocell. The electrical plan isn't quite complete yet, but he's started on it. The rest of the plan is complete, so as soon as we get that electrical plan, we'll ask for a quote for the construction.
Okay, did you happen to, Commissioner Millender has requested for, put the power poles underground, the utility power poles, convert that to underground service? Have you
Okay.
had an opportunity?
I have not,
Okay.
but I'd like to get clarification on which pole, if we can go back to that one more time. There's the service pole?
There's a service
Okay.
pole that
That
comes
one?
off of Duke Energy's primary.
Right,
There's a service pole there.
just that one pole?
That's
Okay,
it.
all right, I wanted to make sure.
And then there's a concrete pole there, right? A big concrete.
Well, that has the meter.
That has a meter.
Yes.
That's the service.
That one would stay, it's not,
Yeah.
but it's that old,
The
old power
service
pole, yeah.
Okay. All right, I don't have a quote for that, but I promise I'll get that.
Okay. And then, other than that, I will ask, do you have an estimate for the project, other than the power pole?
I don't.
Okay. Are you
and,
scared?
A little.
Russell.
Let's go.
Why'd you let us spend all that money on paving?
Yeah.
Good thing we cut one out.
Right. Can I ask a question about the flagpoles? The flagpoles are already purchased, already available?
Correct.
And so the contractor would pick them up and do the installation? So the city would not be involved with the installation? Okay. Just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay,
And there's 140 foot, and the rest of them are 30 foot.
right,
And then we have to have trees removed.
right.
Okay.
And that's included in the plans. I think at this point, it would be more realistic if we complete the plan and go out and ask for a price.
All right. Is
And-
that all right, Mr. Commissioner Millender?
Sure. What about the other board members?
Well.
Yeah.
it's-
Oh, yeah, but
It's
everyone
your
has a
project.
say-so here.
Yeah,
Yes,
your
I'm
pet
good.
project, we'll make sure it's all right first, and
Sounds
then,
good.
is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna complete the design, and then go out for bid.
Right. Well, and my thought is this would fall under the threshold that would require a bid, so we would do it by invitation.
Amen.
I guess I come in that way?
Well, why were you scared then?
No, I'm still scared.
Okay. Okay.
But,
Oh.
I wasn't until now.
Well, we've got,
well, there is some incentive for a contractor to provide pricing that falls under the threshold, so that it doesn't go out for bid. There is some incentive there.
okay, so then you could, we had requested to have a quote as the whole, and then have it separated out, do the sidewalk
Sidewalk, right.
on the east side as a separate project. Then how about the underground utilities? That would be a separate quote? probably.
Yes.
Okay, so then that might keep it under the threshold.
Oh, I see what you're asking. No, I would like to do that with the same contractor.
The underground or the sidewalk?
We can do the underground part as an alternate.
All right.
I think we can do it that way.
Okay. Is that all right, Commissioner Melander? Okay. Well, that would be good.
All right, and
If that works
I
out
expect
like
we'll have
that.
that by the next meeting.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else on this item? Okay. Very good. that's it for Mr. Russell for now. And then we'll move on to the CRA board projects, discussion and possible action regarding the 2020-2021 expense to budget report. And we pretty much looked at that a few minutes ago. In the event someone else has questions, of course, I fudged in some numbers to try to understand what we're going to spend throughout the rest of the year, so we know what we can spend on paving. And then item number 2 is discussion possible action regarding Sands Park recreational equipment and facilities repairs and replacements. And thank you, Courtney, and thank you to Dustin. He repaired the concrete table, and going out for bids to Duke Energy and the light fixtures. We still have to fund that once they get that project done. And TNT, they've already completed their repairs. I continue to wait now over 2 months from the county attorney on his opinion and determination on whether children's recreational equipment can be funded by the TDC. We're supposed to have that answer by this past Friday, and we still don't have that answer. So I don't know how long you want to wait. We can have Courtney go ahead and assemble a price, and she can maybe present that next month. I don't know if they're gonna even answer me.
I mean, I've got a price in mind. Everything costs different prices. You look at these magazines, but you get different discounts depending on who you use, and you go to your sales rep, and this one may give you a better price than this one. So just because that's what's in the magazine, don't mean. But what I'd like is, I think I could do it for $15,000 and replace most of the equipment. I'd really like 20, but I think 15,000 would do most of it.
And that's for that truckload deal you were talking about?
Well, some of the truckload deal and then some other items.
Yeah, we added
Because I don't want to put
additional.
exactly back what we have in there. A lot of it would be the same stuff that we have in there, just new. But I'd like to add a few new pieces that we haven't had, so that it's.
Plus, things
variety.
probably might have changed by
Yeah.
then too, because that's been.
And I did have one lady write me and said that we should consider a risk analysis of the playground equipment there because it was in such bad condition. And is it better to go ahead and fund the project instead of continue to wait for the TDC to answer? Although I know I have voted on funding recreational equipment 3 different times since I've sat on that board, and now for some reason we can't decide whether we can fund it. And then, is it better to go ahead and replace it than to, consider the risk that the city may have? But we just say.
I say we at least wait till next month.
Okay. Meanwhile, Courtney can get a quote, and if we decide we want to go ahead and order it, then we can.
And I agree with that. What I was gonna say is, we could move forward with it, and then if TDC makes a decision in our favor, they just reimburse us.
They won't do that. You have to get it approved like a grant,
Really?
Façade Grant. You got to get it approved first. And I've actually thought about going ahead and helping Courtney write a letter requesting funding and submit it so that at our next TDC board meeting, they can officially deny that, so we would know,
That sounds like a good idea.
Just go ahead and officially request the funding instead of asking, will you fund it?
Didn't they fund one of the parks in Appalachia?
Yes, they did at Battery Park, sure did.
What was
What would
that?
be the difference?
I'm not sure, Carrabelle, Appalachicola would be the difference. So, and I've talked to them about it at the meeting, so.
It just funded something else for Appalachicola, and me and Brenda and I discussed, maybe we need to just start
It was-
submitting these letters.
Request, and
Request
Courtney
to
put
Is
it
that
in.
how they got the funding? They just submitted a request for it?
Right.
I listened to one this morning where TDC funded a fishing pier repair for the city of Appalachia.
$52,000.
And they also funded a dune walkover. Where were 2 of them?
$35,000.
Yes, yeah.
I motion for both of them,
Yes.
and we're gonna be presenting some things, and I expect the mayor to motion for some things for Carrabelle. So Courtney will, she can show you that information. Yes, sir.
I did have, in just numerous conversations with the county attorney, so I don't put him completely on the spot here, but we went over the TDC enabling statute and what you can spend money on, and it is narrow from the standpoint if it's related to, obviously tourism, but beaches and recreation associated with beaches. So it's kind of water related. It was strangely narrow on that, meaning if it's off the water, it's harder to fund. That was sort of the.
As a pond.
Exactly. No, I brought up, you know, rivers, ponds,
right
that sort of thing.
Make a beach.
Yeah,
It does have.
when you read it, it seems broad, but then as you really, really read it, it gets really.
And it has a fishing pier as well, a pond with a fishing pier.
It's like
and a multimodal
1.5
pond.
blocks from the water. I mean, not that far.
So that's all right.
And
That's all right.
hurricane, it's all underwater.
I think submitting the letter,
Yeah,
it's like the last ditch effort, I guess.
and we will.
We're the redheads.
You should know you have red hair. Okay. All right.
Whatever.
That's why I work so hard.
All we can do is ask and, ask again. But we will maybe develop a letter, if that's okay with y'all, and go ahead and submit it and see if
Well, I
they
think,
give us.
I think we should make it official.
Okay.
Yeah, and any of our requests, we should make it official, and then that way, it's
It's
there.
in writing and they have to.
Well, let's have a motion for the CRA Director to submit a letter for replacement of children's recreational equipment at Sands Park.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second
Okay, so we have that motion by Commissioner Brown, second by Ms. Chisholm, to submit a letter to the TDC Executive Director. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. Okay, so here's another one I dug up. But we have a lot of areas, a lot of things that need maintenance, and this one was constructed in 2007, excuse me, this was 2010, 2011, is that right, Mr. Russell?
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay, and you and Mr. Waddell wrote the project?
Yes.
Something, okay. So this is a Messer Pavilion, and what is that? That's metal, is that a metal structure? And it needs to be sandblasted and repainted? Is that what this needs to cure that rust growth that's taking over?
Yes, ma'am. I brought that up at a run at one of our regular commission meetings after Hurricane Michael, when all the supplies were delivered down there, noticing the rust accumulation and causing the paint to peel, and it needed some attention.
And you had noticed it from being down there so much.
That was 2018, yep.
So now we're 4 years later, and it's gotten a little worse, and maybe we can attack it, and it'll look good another 15 years or so.
Well, if we
How
don't
long has
preserve
that
it.
been there, that pavilion?
Since 2000,
And so say,
11, 2000.
2011.
Yeah.
so 10 years.
If we don't preserve it like anything else, it'll deteriorate to the point it has to be
Yeah, that's
replaced.
probably the easiest.
Salt water there.
It's a nice looking building.
So,
I would say we need to get a cost on sandblasting and painting, priming and painting.
All right, and the wood parts too as well need to be, I guess that, I don't know if the red there, those red slats on the side, is that wood? I think, and that needs to be repaired, yeah. I think those are wood shuttered like, but I don't know if that's wood or metal, honestly.
it's hard to tell. I don't see rust.
But the whole thing needs to be, that's metal, painted.
It's got little,
Those vents.
uh-huh.
I think, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And
See, it's
I
got
have-
another thing.
yeah.
corner.
Yeah, you can see the galvanized material right there.
On the
Yeah.
corners, yeah.
All right, then can we have a motion for Courtney to get a quote for sandblasting and painting, whatever needs to be sandblasted, and paint and repair, whatever wood parts? And should we include the little bathroom facility there as well?
And outside of it,
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe they could separate it off, I don't know. You're doing one.
I haven't looked at the restroom building lately, so I don't know what kind of state it's in.
I just get a price on both of them.
Okay.
I think I submitted a little, couple of little pictures of
And
it.
it's the only ones I have on here, there might have been more on, maybe there was, I didn't grab them all,
Oh, okay,
but it was the only ones I've seen.
all right. It could use a paint job on the wood portion of it especially.
Do we need a motion to get a bid?
Yes, a motion
I'll
for
make a
Courtney to
motion.
get a quote on repairs to the Messer Pavilion facility. So we have that motion by Commissioner Brown. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Allen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion carries. And that, we'll just see what that is. That might be something we could still afford to do under maintenance here, or we may put that as a project in the next fiscal year. We need to start, just taking a look at some things like that. All right, are there any other items that are that the board members wish to bring forward?
Not today.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
just while we were meeting, I got a note from North Florida Asphalt that they're setting their control today. They're laying out survey for 9th, and looks like they'll be starting construction first of next week.
Okay, very good, thank you. And then our next meeting is the May 17th, next month. And we had a lot on the agenda today. It was, a long meeting, but it was a good meeting, and I thank you all. We had some good discussion. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your volunteering, Ms. Chase. We appreciate it. All right, anything else then? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All right. And that's, motion is by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Allen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, she carries. All right, thank y'all very much.